They are trying to MeToo God. This is the ultimate battle, the final move made by the MeToo feminists in the culture war to take out the ending boss, the greatest foe, God himself. I'm being hyperbolic, but from Campus Reform, Professor, Virgin Mary didn't give consent. I think that's true. I grew up Catholic. This may be one of the most ridiculous stories I've ever heard, partly because I am no longer religious. I haven't been for most of my life, and I don't find these stories to be true at all. And if they aren't, why would I care? Like, there's a lot of stories in the Bible that are probably much, much worse than this. But this, what makes me laugh about this is that you literally have the story of, I think it's Abraham, I could be wrong, where God's like, I want you to sacrifice your son, and the burning bush and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah, that's a little bit worse than this. Like, okay, listen. If God, the creator of the heavens and earth, all that is and forever shall be, didn't get consent from Mary, yeah, okay, sure, I guess it's a bad thing, but I mean, it's God. I wouldn't know how to respond to God if God ordered something of me. Like, okay, maybe people on the left don't seem to understand the concept of God as like the creator of all that is and ever will be, and not just like some dude who's telling you he wants to do something. No, it's God, right? He could snap his fingers, you don't exist anymore. And quite honestly, I think God could just snap his fingers and make Mary consent. You know, he controls, like, is God, okay? Anyway, the point is, think about some of the other stories in the Bible, and which one do you want to choose to be outraged at, okay? Bronze Age scripture. There's much to be outraged by in 2018, but let's talk about the boss battle. Let's see how they're doing when they're going after the greatest Me Too in the history of feminism. A Minnesota professor suggested in a series of tweets that the Virgin Mary did not consent to the conception of Jesus Christ and suggested that God may have acted in a predatory manner. God is not capable of being predatory. Okay, how can I explain this, right? I believe that all life is valuable, and I do take issue with some of the stories in the Bible of God, you know, harming the innocent. However, I'd like to point out our concept of innocent until proven guilty is actually in it's in Genesis, I think. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah, I believe. I could be wrong. It's been decades since I've actually gone to church, but or did Bible study. But my understanding, and I did talk about this a little while ago, is that God refused to destroy the cities because there were innocent people there. Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is, if we are all created by and exist beneath the grandeur that is God himself, I don't believe that predatory exists in God's nature. If you want to call God predatory, then how about the fact that God literally created rapists, okay? Like, how about the fact that God created vicious, like wasps, okay? Like wasps, pretty nasty dudes, okay? There's that meme where it's like the bee will sting you because it's like bees make honey, okay? They sting, that sucks, but they make honey, it's great. Wasps don't, they just sting everything and nonstop. God has made some pretty horrible things, like diseases. If this is the worst thing you can think of, yeah, okay, no, God works in mysterious ways, but let's read on. Minnesota State University, Mankato psychology professor and therapist Eric Sprankle critiqued the story of the Virgin Mary in a tweet Monday, suggesting that the Virgin Mary did not consent to being impregnated by God. The virgin birth story is about an all-knowing, all-powerful deity impregnating a human teen. There is no definition of consent that would include that scenario. Happy holidays. There would be, because God created them. It's not that she has to consent. Okay. Do you consent to getting cancer? Do you consent to getting run over by a car? Do you consent to falling off a cliff? Did you consent to being born? I don't think these people understand the concept. Maybe this says something about their spirituality and their philosophical understanding of reality. I think there's within religious folk, there tends to be a greater spiritual understanding, in my opinion, than many people who are without religion. It's not absolute. I'm just saying that this person can't understand a concept of something that exists beyond. And I feel like that's true. There's a lot of religious people who can't understand the context of the world we live in because they're so... Look, I know some people growing up Catholic who just lived in the clouds, lived in their religion, and just did not care for worldly things. But the point I'm making is, I don't think this person can understand a concept such as God gives you cancer, okay? God created cancer, right? This is not about consent at all. It's about literal creation. He said, it says, another Twitter user called the professor's claim into question, noting the Bible states the Virgin Mary did indeed agree to God's plan for her. The biblical God regularly punished disobedience, Sprankle rebutted. The power difference, oh, here we go, and the potential for violence, oh my stars and garters, for saying no negates her yes. To put someone in this position is an unethical abuse of power at best and grossly predatory at worst. Did you know? Actually, I'm not going to call out anybody by name because I want to keep their privacy, let them keep their privacy. There is a famous media personality who had an intern. He had several interns, actually. Well, he ended up marrying his intern, and they're married to this day with several children, and they are very happy. She was not coerced. She was not scared of being fired. She liked the guy. He liked her. They hooked up, had a bunch of babies, and now they live together, and it's been like a decade. Longer than a decade. Okay? You can't tell that couple their coupling was wrong because he had power over her. There are some circumstances, yes, where people can abuse their power and manipulate those beneath them in a power structure. But it's not black and white. And this actually becomes rather ridiculous. Because let me say this. I assure you, there is many a woman who, if confronted by a great angel, someone speaking at the behest of God, saying, God would like you to carry his child, they would gleefully say, yes, yes, please, to serve the Lord, right? I think this is beyond their understanding, that there are some people that are absolutely would love and feel nothing but the greatest joy of their lives to do something so important and so powerful, to act like this woman was not in her right mind, like to make her decision. This is like a really good example, actually, of the, I made a few videos the other day talking about how the people who are extremely narcissistic don't believe in democracy or a diverse set of political opinions, and that there's a study about how white liberals believe they're smarter than minorities. Here we have a man saying that if God came to a woman and said, how would you like to be entrusted with one of the most sacred and important duties in the history of existence? Because she said yes, but it's actually she's being coerced. Really? If the President of the United States, if the Queen of England went to someone and said, I would like you to carry out this holy mission, is he then going to say, he's scared that the President will do something bad to me, he has no choice but to do it? I'm sure that's true of some people, but being tasked with a holy mission by someone you revere is not, it's acceptable. Let's read on. This is great. Sprankle is public with his anti-religious views and endorses secularism in his Twitter biography. I'm fine with that too, okay? We'll come back to this. Earlier in December, he tweeted a photo of a toy Christmas elf with his arm around a statue of what appears to be Baphomet, an occult depiction of an entity regularly associated with Satanism, according to the Church of Satan's website. Sprankle also decorated his Christmas tree with satanic decor, as shown in another tweet he sent this past weekend. Campus Reform emailed Dr. Sprankle and called his office at the university but did not receive a response in time for publication. Minnesota State University Mankato did not respond in time for publication. Here's where, let me point out some issues that I take. Okay, I am not religious. I don't like the word agnostic. I don't like the word atheist. I don't know what I am. But I certainly believe in what could be considered a higher power. And I think this would actually make a fascinating philosophical discussion with someone, with like a religious individual, like maybe like a priest, and maybe someone who's like a quantum physicist, and we can talk about, but I'm not religious. I don't believe in the texts of various religions or anything like that, but I'll say this. This man appears to be a fake Satanist. I take issue with that. I take issue with people who pretend to be a religion to own some other religion. This guy clearly doesn't like Christianity, okay? I would wonder if he would be as critical with something like Islam, perhaps. Why is it that so many people on the left have no problem criticizing Christianity but they absolutely defend Islam? They're both Abrahamic religions. They both have very similar tenets, okay? They're different books, don't get me wrong. It seems like this guy just doesn't like religion. He doesn't like Christianity. He says secularism. I don't believe him. And I think this is a guy who kind of gives a bad name to those who are atheist or secular. There's a lot of people who are atheist who are social justice warriors. Okay, you can't replace one dogmatic ideology with another. I don't believe you. I also actually take great offense to his claiming or his appropriation of Satanism. Because Satanism is an actual religion. Certainly some people do it in jest, but it is a real religion with real beliefs, and I actually know some Satanists. They don't worship the devil, They don't worship the Dark Lord, right? If you watch that Sabrina show, it's all extreme. I could be wrong, not an expert, but of the people I've met who've been Satanists, they say that it's actually fairly libertarian. The idea is that you respect the right of others without infringing upon them, and you respect free will. And people often embrace Satanism because they think it's more of like an FU to Christians. I would absolutely love to see someone like this be critical of every religion, but no. The mainstream left in this country is still adapted to this era when the evangelical Christians dominated, and so thus they have no problem playing up to that mainstream, haha, I can poke fun at Christians, at the same time overtly defending other Abrahamic religions. It's like, how are you going to criticize Mosaic law at the same time not complain about Sharia law, right? I don't get it. Like, if you're going to be secular and opposed to Abrahamic religions, go for all of them. Be consistent. Anyway, this is hilarious. I can't believe I actually made an 11-minute video about this story, but I saw it and I thought it was just absolutely hilarious that their intent was to give God his Me Too moment. There you go. The final boss. I would have to say, unfortunately for the extremist ideologues of the regressive left, you have failed in your effort to defeat your greatest enemy. Actually, I don't think it's fair to say greatest enemy, but they tried to go after the greatest patriarchal figure that exists, God himself. I don't think it works. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here. Enjoy the silliness. I'll see you guys all tomorrow on the main channel at 4 p.m.